All right, so you haven't seen all of this Piers Morgan interview of Andrew Tate, yeah?
No.
So the full interview is not actually out yet. There's only a 5 to 6 minute clip on his YouTube channel, on Piers Morgan's uncensored YouTube channel. I've watched the clip. I'm going to let Sabi watch it now, but I will say that I think that this is a very poorly conducted interview, and I counted about 13 interruptions. As far as I'm aware, if you're interviewing somebody, you ask them a question and you let them answer the question. If you ask them a question and they get midway into answering and you ask them another question and you keep doing that continuously, you're not a very good interviewer. And it's also ironic that Piers Morgan's show is called Uncensored, and all he did was interrupt Andrew Tate, which is effectively censoring him. He's asking him loaded questions and then not giving him the amount of time that he needs to answer them. And you'll see throughout this clip, I'm gonna watch the whole thing, it's 5 minutes long, but we'll pause it in between whenever Piers pisses me off. He really just made himself look stupid, and he made Andrew Tate look better. And if you go on Piers Morgan's YouTube channel and look at the comment section, pretty much everyone agrees. Just let the man talk, because if he has ideas that are bad, or if he has stupid ideas, if you let him talk, he will hang himself. You don't need to interrupt him. The problem here is that I think Piers Morgan and a lot of other people that do this are aware that Andrew Tate actually has very difficult ideas to refute when you let him flesh them out, because we've seen Andrew Tate talk for 6 hours on end in a podcast. He can just talk and talk and talk. And I think people get worried at the idea of him making them look silly when he fleshes out his ideas. And I'm not saying that for every single thing he says, but he's a very intelligent man, and he obviously believes in the things he says. So I think that's why they interrupt him a lot.
You respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
Can I just stop it for a second? He said to him, do you respect women? Andrew Tate said, yes, of course. Where was the follow-up there? Like, that is a loaded question in itself. Do you respect women?
Yeah.
Where's the follow-up from Piers Morgan? Andrew Tate says, yes, of course. And then he would say, oh, because blah, blah, blah. He's already moved on to the attractiveness of 18 to 25-year-old women.
There was no context behind it.
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
say... For the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Do you think that's misogyny?
No.
Why do you think it's not misogyny? Why do you think he's saying to him it's misogyny? Because I don't think it's misogyny either.
No, it's not. I don't know why Piers is saying it, but I don't think it's misogyny, because that specific thing there is Andrew Tate's personal opinion.
It's actually an opinion that a lot of people share. Not necessarily the 18-year-old thing, but if you take two girls that are like 25 years old, and one has been with 15 men and one has been with 2, who do you, and let's say they both look exactly the same, who do you think men are going to flock to?
I get that. There's a lot of women who are aged 25, 26 that would have slept with less men than a 19-year-old anyway.
Oh, 100%. But the likelihood of a 25-year-old sleeping with more men is much higher, obviously, just because of they've got 7 years on the other girl. But the point is that men do tend to like women that have been with less men. They do value that innocence in some sense. It's not necessarily the 18, 19-year-old thing, because I myself wouldn't go for an 18, 19-year-old, but I would go for a girl that has been with less men. 100%.
Yeah, there's that. But then going with an 18, 19-year-old does come with more immaturity as well, and not having as much life skills or knowing as much as life. 100%.
But in terms of just this question, the context of this question, I don't think that is misogyny. At all. That's a preference.
No, it's not,
And women can have that preference as well. Women might like men that have been with less women.
But Piers...
Which obviously is not the case. But.
Yeah, I just know Piers' response to Andrew Tate's why is going to be beating around the bush. It's going to be irrelevant.
Oh yeah, this is about to get very annoying to watch.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
That would, well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
Well, what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny then, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm not.
Being anti any women at all is misogyny. What? Women are human beings, just like men. There are women that are going to have preferences towards men. What they call them, misandrists. You're not hating on men because you have a preference. If Andrew likes women that have been with less men sexually, that's not misogyny and it's not anti-women. This can be applied to any age range. If he just moves the goalpost and says, I like 25-year-olds, I don't like 30-year-olds. I like 30-year-olds, I don't like 35-year-olds. That's his preference. That's his prerogative. If he's into women that are younger and have been with less men, that has nothing to do with misogyny. It's not anti-women, it's a preference. For Piers to even come out of that is so dumb. He's making himself look stupid in this interview. I can't wait to see the full thing.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist, perhaps, but misogynistic, absolutely
Is that
not.
really? But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
If a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments,
Yeah.
would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not
to
allowed
have.
to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with me.
But is that the kind of world for a woman that you
I was mediating a
No,
conversation.
I'm asking you what you think.
You can't have a conversation with someone who doesn't want to listen to what you have to say. Like at the moment, Piers is not actually trying to listen and understand to what Andrew Tate has to say. He's just at the moment listening to respond and just keeps on trying to get one up on anything that Andrew Tate says. Like it's like he just wants to make him look so bad that he's doing everything in his power to just...
Yeah, this is the difference between an interviewer like Joe Rogan and an interviewer like Piers Morgan. Part of the reason why Joe Rogan's podcast is so popular and so many people, including Andrew Tate, want to be on it is because Joe Rogan gives them a platform to speak and flesh out their ideas. The reason that podcast did 7.5 million views with Andrew Tate and PBD, the Valuetainment one that came out recently, 7.5 million views in 10 days. The reason that it did so well is because Andrew Tate was allowed to talk and flesh out his points so people can understand him. All you're doing here is throttling him, and it's making people think, why are you trying to keep him from talking?
And he's putting words in his mouth as well.
Yeah, Andrew Tate is not saying anything that Piers Morgan is saying. Piers Morgan is literally just throwing buzzwords at him or making accusations or saying, so you mean this, so you mean that.
I think Piers would be a good lawyer because what he's doing is literally just what a lawyer would do, of just literally just throwing stuff at you and not really giving you a chance to even digest what's been asked, answer properly and have a conversation. They're not having a conversation right now. Piers is just throwing loads of stuff down Andrew Tate's throat and that's it.
Yeah, and I know what the idea is here is that Piers probably doesn't like Andrew Tate and his views, and the idea is to try and make Andrew Tate look small, try to make it look like, oh, Piers owned Andrew Tate, when really anybody with common sense could see that Andrew Tate is dealing with this in the exact way he should. He's not interrupting Piers, he's letting Piers say exactly what he needs to, because he knows when the time comes to respond and he is allowed to get his point across, he's going to chew Piers up and spit Piers out, and Piers knows that, because I'm assuming Piers has done his research on Andrew Tate, so I'm assuming that's why he is throttling him, but we'll see where this goes.
I don't live in a country where that happens.
So you're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an excuse.
Is that there are parts of the world where this is fine.
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
the reason
This
I
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share.
He's telling him what to say now. He's not letting Andrew respond the way Andrew wants to authentically. He's telling him, just say sorry and respond in this way.
You know what it looks like? It looks like he's got a script and he's just reading and trying to get every word out on the script. Yeah, and not give Andrew Tate a chance to speak because he knows he will have nothing to say back, literally.
Yeah, he looks triggered.
Yeah.
Honestly, he looks triggered. Like, he said to him, this is my question to you, but he's asked him like 10 questions now and he's not been allowed to answer any of them. And again, hats off to Andrew Tate for remaining calm, because this is fucking irritating to watch. Like, I don't know how this guy remains calm in all situations. My hats off to him, but like, there's very few people that would be able to sit there and let Piers ramble like this and wait for his turn.
Now, I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father...
I would just say two things, right? Firstly, the death of this young girl is a sad thing, but it has nothing to do with Andrew Tate. It has nothing to do with the conversation. And bringing it up in a conversation with Andrew Tate, when you know that the world is watching this guy and half of the population don't like him, he's a very polarizing figure, you know exactly what you're doing. The less in the know you are, the more likely you are to immediately attribute this young girl's passing to Andrew Tate, because people want to hate this guy. So they're going to look for any reason. Piers knows exactly why he did that. And the other thing is, did you notice that when Andrew Tate was explaining his reasoning, when Piers actually allowed him to speak, Andrew Tate said what he said and Piers didn't even address it. He moved right onto the 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, he always just changes it, yeah.
Yeah, he's not interested in letting Andrew Tate talk. He's not interested in even pressing him on matters. He's interested in getting quick clips to try and make Andrew look bad. It's just, unfortunately for Piers, people on the internet have matured past the point of these stupid clips just winning them over. Like, people can see very clearly now that Piers is trying to throttle him and not letting him answer the questions correctly. Piers has made himself look stupid in this. He looks really stupid in this.
Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms, right? It says that the particularly graphic content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is... The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that.
What has come clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
But I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah. So to me, that's an acceptance. Not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind by some of the things you've said. Would that be fair?
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand that with massive fame, you have to be more careful about being misconstrued. Like I said earlier, 1% of people misunderstanding you doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience. With power comes responsibility. I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't understand the world.
I mean, it was completely right. That is true. Kids that don't understand the world, a lot of things they consume can harm them. But I just want to point out the fact that Piers showed us that that little girl passing for the sole reason of trying to say that Andrew Tate's content is so harmful that someone could take it the wrong way and potentially do something extremely dangerous with it. And he used the most extreme example to pull at the hearts of the people watching, to be like, look what's happened to this girl in terms of like the content that she watched, and Andrew Tate's content could potentially do the same thing, which we've heard nothing of. There's been no mention of anything even close to that. All I've seen with Andrew Tate's content in terms of like people speaking out is either they just don't like what he's saying, or there's men saying, yeah, this guy helped me. Listening to this guy helped me. I saw a comment under Piers Morgan's own YouTube channel where a guy was saying that Andrew Tate got him off drugs. Trying to draw that comparison to the extremities of that passing, and Andrew Tate is already a disingenuous thing to do. To even want his comments on it doesn't really make sense. It's not conducive to the interview. It doesn't add anything to the interview, and again, it makes you look stupid. You come across like a petty child. And Andrew Tate has said multiple times that now with his fame, he would be more responsible with the things he's saying. But a lot of us on the internet, a lot of us that have been on YouTube for a long time, say and joke about things that we don't really mean. And we joke about things in private that we don't mean in real life. Andrew Tate did it in front of a camera, so I can understand how people might have gotten upset at some of the more cartoony things that he did. But he's allowed to grow and change as a person as well, and recognize his fame and curate his messages now a bit differently.
Yeah, because
not be demonized for it.
Yeah, he wasn't always as big as he is now. And to start off with, I don't think maybe he didn't imagine that it was going to reach or affect so many people. And then as well, a lot of people were making a lot of memes out of his content and stuff. So maybe it was just the hype that he had over all of the excitement being around him and attention that he was getting, that maybe he did go a bit over the top with certain things. But like we're saying, he looks like he has really taken a lot on board in more recent times. I don't know, everything seems genuine with what he's saying in just this clip that I've seen here. So
but the thing is that like I said, for me to have an opinion on Andrew Tate, I've gone and watched a lot of his content, and this version of Andrew Tate that maybe you're not used to seeing, I've already seen before. When push comes to shove and Andrew Tate is faced with serious questions or serious scenarios, you see this side of him. He's not just this guy that is saying outlandish things to get clicks on TikTok or YouTube. He is a person with his own beliefs that you might not agree with, but again, he didn't deserve to be banned for them. And trying to throttle him in an interview to pander to an audience that tries to throttle everyone that doesn't agree with what they think isn't going to help you. It's going to make you look stupid, and that's exactly what Piers has done. I actually can't wait to see this full interview to see where he's gone wrong. We're going to have to like do a reaction video to that as
100%. I want to watch it, but it seems like someone like Piers is the reason why Andrew Tate's banned on everything, because they just have that mindset of just putting him down about everything and making out that he's this big bad wolf and he's causing all of this bad harm that's happening in the world. Yeah,
we saw in that interview he did not want to listen to anything Andrew had to say. Even when he let Andrew speak, he just moved on to the 14-year-old girl, which had nothing to do with anything that they were talking about. The points were not fleshed out at all.
No.
Nothing was really answered. He asked Andrew about 3 or 4 different questions, none of which Andrew got to actually address properly. I think he interrupted him about 13 times, which in a 5-minute clip to be interrupted that many times is ridiculous. Like I said, it's ironic that the show's called Uncensored. Can't actually get a word in if Piers don't like you. Now, he likes Jordan Peterson, and that's why Jordan Peterson was able to go on his podcast and really speak and get his message across, but he doesn't like Andrew Tate, clearly. But at the end of the day, if you're going to have someone on to speak, let them speak. So we'll see when the full interview comes out. We'll do a follow-up video to it, but it's not looking good for Piers right now. He's come off looking like a complete goofball, and his public perception with Piers is already not that great to begin with, so done himself no favors, but we'll see.